Hello and welcome in everybody to the Paladins World Championship. Today is our final day. We only have one region left. Brazil is all that is left for us to determine who the best team in Paladins in each region is. If you missed it, North America and Europe were already happening earlier on this weekend, so you got a lot of VODs to catch up on. We didn't get a chance to see those. But before we dive into today, we are giving out the crystals, the community awarded voters that have been able to get people awards based on what they did this year. Today, on our final day of the Paladins World Championship, feels fitting to go over the esports winners for the crystals.
Well, hey there, champions, and welcome to the Crystals, a Paladins-themed award show to recognize some of those out there in the community for all of their hard work. We had you submit nominees, finalists were selected by Evil Mojo, and then the winners were once again voted on by you out there in the community. And today, or at least for now, we're going to be looking at those in esports. Your Play of the Year, your Rookie of the Year, as well as your Pro Player of the Year. So, first and foremost, your Play of the Year. Now, there's been a lot of insane plays here in the PPC, but the plays that have been put up towards the top were those from Otev, Bones, Legacy, and Cool. Only one player could make the Play of the Year, and that was Otev from Celestial Esports.
I know they feel like it, but I don't know how likely that's going to be, especially with how they're playing right now in the back and first blood for Otev.
Otev double killing them. Looking good out there on the EV Otev. Always good to see some of those hot plays, especially from these names over there in Europe. But we do still have, well, quite a few international players as well. Considering we're looking at 3 different regions, we can move to the Rookie of the Year. A lot of players that come through. Of course, Brazil, the newest region this year in the PPC, had quite a few players here as well. Deja Vu, Reincarnated, Uber's Payday, and Woodknock players from all around the world. But again, only one could be the Rookie of the Year, and joining the league and winning it this time is Deja Vu, being able to take this one away, and we got a couple of words from Deja Vu as they take this award.
Muy buena gente, mi nombre es Oscar, también conocido como Deja Vu. Soy un jugador del circuito profesional y capitán del equipo Ignite Gaming. Les agradezco de corazón, gente, a mis amigos, a mi equipo, a mi comunidad de gatos en Twitch, a una parte de la comunidad de LATAM y una pequeña parte de la comunidad de Brasil por haberme apoyado tanto y de darme la oportunidad de estar aquí. Su apoyo fue enorme y los aprecio un montón. Ya saben, gente, sean buena onda y que tengan un buen resto del año.
Well, again, beautiful words put there. And for those of you who might not have caught all of that, or maybe just don't know the language, just to paraphrase, thanking friends, team, your community of cats on Twitch, the LATAM and Brazilian communities for all of the support and the opportunities that come through. And I expect there will be a lot more going forward for you, Deja Vu. A great player that comes through and deserving there of Rookie of the Year. But now we're moving to the big one, the Pro Player of the Year. Now, there's a lot of people on this list that have played for quite some years and have proven themselves in all different lands and tournaments all around, but it's Spexy, Midtow, Prosper Logic, and Poison. Only one can come out on top, and it's going to be Midtow. Once again, being able to take another award here. And Midtow, I mean, a great guy who's been playing for years on some of the best teams, deserving of this award, and has proven himself as Pro Player of the Year. So congratulations to Midtow, as well as everybody else for being nominated, and of course the winners maybe more so than the others, just because you got your awards. But that's not quite all. We have more crystals coming on throughout the rest of the weekend.
Welcome back, everybody, and with that, it's time to get into Brazil. Agro and Fawn will be riding you through this very first set. And Fawn, normally, I would say today is all about beating Parallax Gaming, and I suppose I would still say that. But it is worth noting that in North America, we had a nearly undefeated team, a 14-1 Pickled Peppers squad that didn't even make it into the finals. So Parallax Gaming had a phase 1 game better. They went undefeated, 15-0. But I think we've learned here at the Paladins World Championship this weekend that that does not guarantee anything.
No, it doesn't, Agro. And I'm so glad you brought that up, because I was just immediately thinking that. It's the fact that throughout this weekend, we've seen some of these star teams, these star players, end up losing out to these teams that may have not been as favored as some of the others. Parallax versus Ignite, all eyes are on Parallax, just like they have been throughout Phase 2 of the Brazilian region, and as well as Phase 1. The thing that's so interesting about this is the fact that Ignite have their work cut out for them. Parallax is no easy team to take on, being undefeated in its entirety throughout the entire phase. Everyone's going to be looking to see who can put Parallax in the loser's bracket, or are they really just that good?
Parallax is going to be the team to beat here today. I don't think there's any doubt about that. Ignite is going to get the first crack at it here in the quarterfinals, but after that, they'll be maybe awaiting the winner or potentially the loser of Carnage up against In Control, but that's for future desk people to worry about. For us, Fawn, I want to dive in to this Parallax Gaming team. Mittal, we just saw a Crystal winner here this year, and certainly very deserving of that. What made this team so unbeatable during Phase 2?
I think what really was important to keep in mind about Parallax is because we've seen some of these players sort of spread out in between. If you were following the Paladins esports scene last year, we've seen them in the PPL, we've seen them in the PML, we've seen them in the minor league, we've seen them in the console league, we've seen them everywhere. These are names that if you are a Brazilian fan, if you follow the Brazilian region very intensely, you will know that these names are nothing to scoff at. Having Mittal, Spexy on the same team, Spexy, Dintic, Mittal, these three are so pivotal on the team to be able to be brought out at any point in time, flexible players that can really play to their strengths here. I mean, I remember multiple times Spexy getting his Shaolin banned out, something he's so well known for. Kron's immediately on the Inara is so powerful, such a great frontline player. They really were sort of shaping how things looked in the Brazilian region. They were some of the first ones to actually end up picking Barrick to make sure that they had the frontliner where everybody else was sort of doubting him. Parallax were really on top of their game throughout that region, and I think their uniqueness and their ability to not necessarily conform entirely to the meta is what separated them from the rest.
Well, that's just great news if you're a Parallax Gaming fan. The fact that they're mechanically very talented and creative and willing to set a meta. I mean, that is definitely not a good sign for a team here like Ignite. Though, if we're going just based on Crystal winners, at least we've got a tie in that way. We have a Crystal winner here on Ignite as well in Deja Vu. What do you think this Ignite squad is going to need to do better than what they did during Phase 2 if they want to have a shot here this weekend?
Well, I mean, of course, on Ignite's side as well, I mean, you have some very star players, but even still, I think one thing that they have to do is that Brazil is known for, even though I just mentioned the fact that Parallax have been known to sort of almost shape the sort of meta that we've seen develop in Brazil, Brazil is one of the types of regions that I believe they've sort of followed the statement, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. They're the ones that will stick to things it is that we've seen last year. And a lot of the time, we haven't seen them quite expand on that. And I think Ignite is one of those teams, which is a no discredit to them. I think that we need to see some more unique picks. Some things are really stuck in Brazil in terms of how things were played out sort of last year and how things translated into more so this year. We haven't really seen too much of diversity here. I'm not too sure if we'll be seeing all the skies that we saw the other day, if we'll be seeing all the Groks picked up as consistently, the IOs. People typically like to stick to the Barrack. They understand the power of the Corvus and the Koga, but even still, I don't think there's a lot of branching out there. Ignite might have to have some tricks under the sleeve to catch Ignite by surprise. I mean, Parallax by surprise.
Think that's a wise way to put it. Gotta catch them off guard. Can't just play their game and expect to beat them at it. And Frog Isle is where we're going to start. As for map bans, Warder's Gate, Shattered Desert, Stone Keep, and Jaguar Falls. Interesting that Ignite take away Stone Keep and Jaguar Falls. A couple typical bans that means left open. Ascension Peak comes to mind as one that we often see banned, but we've seen teams almost specialize in that map. Maybe that's something that Ignite is hoping to capitalize on later on in this match, but we're kicking it off here on Frog Isle. Fawn, immediately, what comes to your mind when you think of these two teams on Frog Isle?
Well, I think of the aspect of danger. Danger, for those of you that don't know that call out, is when you're pushing in through, regardless of what spawn it is, there's a big pillar and there's an edge right next to it. It has like a little pool area sort of around it, and that is the area that people would like to maintain control of because it leads directly behind the enemy line straight into the opposing team's window, where a lot of snipers like to sit, a lot of backliners, the healers typically like to chill out at. that is what needs to be focused on in terms of control. That's the first thing that comes to mind when I think of Frog Isle. It is the aspect of danger that everyone has to keep in mind, that they need to play around in order to actually gain some leverage for their team.
Well, Brazil kind of sticking to what a lot of other regions have found out, that Torvald's pretty good, Zin is pretty good, and so are Ram and Makoa, but Io is left open. That's the first one that comes to mind for me, is Ashe being locked in. Seemed like Ashe was kind of team dependent on which teams prioritized her. Some European teams a little bit less in North America, but Parallax Gaming going to sign on to first pick her here in this one.
And having the off-tank Ashe first pick is typically the sign of a more consistent dive composition. I mean, that's typically what you see when people want to play a little bit more aggressive. Ashe is great at forerunning a lot of engagements that happen regardless of what map that you might be on, but the con pick immediately is the answer to Ashe. That's what you want, especially on Frog Isle with a map that has so many edges. It's going to be very, very important that they overpower her or keep her away from her assert dominance as frequently as possible. And the Strix is probably going to want to do that too. Just focus down and hone in or whatever squishier targets are possible. And if Ashe is out of position, punish her for doing so.
We saw Strix a lot yesterday in Europe, and his win rate was astronomical. I mean, through the roof on that character yesterday. So worth noting that we might see that trend continue here in Brazil today, as Maeve and Genos are the pickups for Parallax. Genos has been one of those top-tier healers. We've talked about it all weekend. It's really been Io ahead above the rest, if you ask a lot of our analysts here, and then Genos Corvus kind of in the same boat, but Parallax going to sign on for the Genos right away as Androxus, and there's the Corvus on the other side, as expected for Ignite. We saw a lot of Andro clips for both teams. Seemed like that might be a priority pick, so not surprised to see it locked in here by Ignite.
Yeah, the verticality that Androxus can bring, I mean, the Accursed Arm in areas where people have to group up in. Granted, they don't have a Grover on Frog Isle, and we probably wouldn't see that to try and count out the Strix, even though that was a sort of consistent pick back in the day. Kanessa typically can fight. Perfect. I'm glad that I mentioned it, because I was just about to mention how Kanessa could be a very, very powerful pick in the Strix. We typically like to see the sniper battles a lot on Frog Isle. It does good to have these longer range DPS sort of duke it out, because whatever sniper has control over the mid and can peek their way into danger, it becomes a harder battle for the opposing side.
Fernando is the pick that stands out to me the most here, Fond. But 2 tanks on both sides, 1 support, a sniper and a flank, pretty similar compositions. Do you think that Ignite did enough to upset Parallax here in Game 1?
I think it's all about the cons shutting down that Ashe. Assert Dominance is such a powerful ultimate. I don't think Fernando can live long enough, especially with the changes to his shield. Aegis is such a good talent for him to take on. It means that he can stay alive a little bit longer, try and contest against Barrack, but I don't know if the staying power that Fernando has is going to be enough to rival that of Barrack, because once those records come online, once they get those shield breaks, it's going to be harder for him to have a decent time.
Excited to get this one kicked off. The final day of the Paladins World Championship. Brazil starting right now between Parallax and Ignite.
Thanks, Aggro. Let's kick the day off here in Brazil. My name is Merlon. With me, your boy, your tech caster, the insane knowledge machine known as Kresnik.
I can't be paired with anyone other than the Italian hype master Merlo. And looking at these compositions, I'm actually shocked right now to see that they're running Aegis on the side of Parallax, because Kronz has been a scorched truther since the start of everything, honestly. I feel like he ran it when no one else was, even as main tank Nando, but we'll see if he does choose to roll out with that. Parallax, they have a comp that can get aggressive, but this Kanessa may be speaking differently, going to be trying to watch those angles. If they get too far forward, then Mitau won't really be able to help either way. And either way, danger's going to be where this fight happens on the map, because this is going to be the stalemate we watch for the entire round.
Absolutely, and we know that now, thanks to Aegis, he's going to be able to actually jump in and back out onto that point. So kind of a safe position for him, you know, as soon as he gets that heat out of him, he's going to be fine. Mitau is going to try to hit those shots, but of course those walls are going to be super useful. First blood coming in. Of course, Parallax Gaming setting up the stone and setting up the action. They're going to go for the second one, and you can see the pressure coming in from a Spexy.
Yeah, getting aggressive on this Maeve and utilizing the verticality to fight Window. Some flankers don't really function that well on this map, but Maeve is one that can, I think, excel. fighting in some of these lanes, but Kronz just lets the barrack in. He didn't want to get grabbed, so a retake guaranteed for Ignite game, even if this barrack just gets shredded from start to finish.
Completely destroyed, and I like that Kronz actually chose to be in the front end position just to try to block him. They got the retake though. The overtime is gonna pop in. We see a little bit of CC coming in from Khan, but it's gonna be huge because Kanessa is still up in the air. You know, it's still there, hitting shots over shots over shots. Strix was actually the first kill that she got in this action soon after the barrack, and Khan is gonna be the next one to fall over.
I like this angle that they're playing here, just splitting the Khan on point. Neither of these tanks can really protect themselves from all directions, and both of them can't contest the point. Parallax, they take it away, even with Ornstein still keeping this up, and Zeeds tried to make that happen, overextended the rest of them, just collapsing here as Parallax go to stagger out the rest of these kills, their composition. They can use a lot of these ultimates quickly. The assert dominance that they were able to spend helped them significantly, but they could just get aggressive with a Midnight as soon as they try to walk out. But look at this positioning, just Aegis on Midtow on top of this rock. When you have the pro player of the year on your team, you got to make sure he's protected just like this.
And already was super hard to actually get to him. I see that Andraxis does not have the angle, the opening to actually get around this Kanessa, get around on Midtown. And, you know, with Fernando on your side, you basically have a big rectangle that's going to cover you. And as soon as I said that, you know, hold the phone, he actually got the kill, but the payload is still running, so they got a long way to go. This is probably the last stretch, and they need to fight hard for it. 1 minute and 30, that's a lot of time to actually expend for this final push.
I don't know if I like how Dintic chose to disengage there. I think he didn't really need to shoot on the point, had to keep prioritizing on Vines, but no way. Bizu just backed off the point. He just let him run it in. Are you serious right now? Kronz just stands there and runs the payload all the way in. Parallax, I don't even think they were expecting to be up 2-0 here, but now they are, and they have a couple ultimates for the next fight. The Immortal can let them get so aggressive, maybe Headhunter to stop some of the pushing power, but Ignite, they're relying so much on Kubies. No one is going to be able to push onto Midtow. It's basically just them saying, all right, Kubies, can you kill Midtow? And if you do that, then maybe we have a chance to win this, because neither of those tanks are going to be able to put any pressure onto Midtow at all, especially since Ibizu just used his overpower to try to make that defense happen.
I know that Deja Vu right now is like screaming internally. He just got a triple kill out of that, and the payload just rolled in. So as you said before, of course, now they have the pressure, you know, they can go with the Immortal, and it's going to be hard. Strix is not really working, so who are you going to kill? Fernando is invincible. He's great. He has the Aegis shield, you know, he's big enough to actually guarantee the conversion of the point. He actually takes another kill on Deja Vu himself, and Ash is trying to just slide around the wall and survive, but no can do because you can't connect to the ground, so you're not going to be invincible. Either way, you know, we see the Parallax Gaming, you know, they got control, they actually have enough pressure, and Aspexy could shine right here. He just needs to find another angle, go into the backline, and do some damage.
He's got good control on the side of the map as Dintic makes it back to the point after that unfortunate circumstance earlier. Just couldn't get the leap from the assert dominance before, but an extension on the side. They trade out for one tank, but Aspexy wants to make good on these frags he's getting.
He's gonna try again, and Khan, a very tough spot. He's gonna get bashed in. Oh, completely in shambles. Aspexy and all the others. We see that Ignite Gaming takes the comeback mechanic. They actually got a nice percentage going, 93% to go. Strix just needs to hit some shots. You know, he needs to find those kills, especially on Midtown. Fernando back in action. He's gonna try to do as much spread as possible with the fireball and on everything else. Situation could be calmer, but watch out, because Khan can grab you out of that shield. Good time and space coming in. No targets were found. Khan's still trying to resist onto this point, and as I said before, as soon as you leave, you can basically engage right back up, thanks to Aegis.
Yeah, this control on the side is fantastic. Look at this overpower actually, pulling Dintic off, finally charged it back up. Did Ibizu, and he has the contest for now, trying to fight in, but he gets caught up by the Kanessa.
And that's super hard when you're a Khan all alone by yourself. You need to do CC on Fernando, you need to do damage, you need to find that stun. There's very taxing, you know, it's the lot they're asking from him. It's gonna be hard, And at times and times again, the barrack is not really working unless he has the dome shield, and that doesn't happen each and every time. And now we see Parallax Gaming 3-2-0. They're going to be ready for another push, and actually also killing. So that means everybody's just going to be back tapping to the respawn. Androx is right there, is going to try to take Midtown for a spin, but no can do once again.
Yeah, managing to survive there, having no one trade out to Deja Vu's dive, will force Ignite back. But this is interesting by Parallax. I don't know if you need to necessarily get this forward, but wait, they're staying this... I didn't expect them to stay in the corner. They just stand there and let Spexy run all over them.
Yeah, he actually took a kill also thanks to Crowns, but no can do. All the others actually managed to escape. That's good for them, for sure, but it's a very worrying trend, because right now, same thing as before. They need to find a breeder. They need to find an angle. They need to get at least a kill again on Midtown, and that's not going to happen, because Midtown, same as before, same position, super safe. It's going to be huge in those team fights, and the pressure, you can actually see those shots coming in over and over and over, while Spexy is going to be a cleanup crew potential, and yeah, it's just going to take everybody around for a spin. Spexy with a double, with a triple actually, and I think that's pretty much over. That's set in stone. Parallax is going to win about a clean 4-0.
Yeah, brutal near the end there, the Maeve, just showing why she has such a monstrous win rate across all the regions in the PPC right now. You can just snowball so effectively with her. You get those midnights going, teams don't know you're there. I do think that Ignite misstepped just a little bit. If they had maybe actually continued to retreat instead of stopping, Parallax weren't close enough to chase the kills off that initial midnight, but Kubi's and Ornstein just hunkered down behind a shield there and let Spexy and the rest of them catch right back up.
Absolutely, and you can make an argument, between Kinesta versus Strix, and we saw the potential from Kinesta finally after a while, and, kicks off things perfectly, but now I want to see the breakdown from our desk caster. Back to Aggro.
Thanks, Merlo and Kresnik. Parallax deliver. As good as advertised so far here. Frog Isle goes their way in a breezy 4-0 victory over Ignite. And Fawn, I think I kind of did you a disservice. I asked you at the very end of that picks and bans segment if Ignite had done enough to beat Parallax with the draft. And I understand now that that was a foolish question, and I apologize for that. I won't ask that anymore.
Right. Yeah, I think genuinely when you look at it, I think it just came down to that Maeve. That Maeve having the verticality over the con, the Spexy just was able to rotate pretty efficiently. There wasn't really anyone that I saw that was able to sort of shut him down. The Strix was so busy battling the Kinessa, trying to keep pressure on the point, making it easier for Barrack, trying to make it easier, not so much for Khan, but whenever there was a situation where he may have needed peel or help, or maybe a little bit of extra damage to get the enemy off of him, he was able to provide that. But then you have situations like this, like I said, where Spexy is not as contested. And I think that goes to show exactly why they were able to do so effectively, because he went 14-4. He's the only one on his team in double digits. Maeve was pretty much uncontested that entire game on Frog Isle. There were times where I saw her rotate through danger. She wasn't really punished. She would come up, get the kills at the last second, make sure they were all cleaned up nice and tidy for her team to pretty much just capture the objective, having 70,000 damage as well compared to Kubi's Strix, which is 61k. But I'm pretty sure most of that is him shooting into like Ash, into Fernando, like characters that are eventually going to have to lose their shield, and it's going to break, and they're going to go on cooldown, and et cetera, et cetera. So I'm pretty sure most of that was due to being shot into tanks, because I didn't really quite see him deliver in terms of the eliminations or the kills that you would expect the Strix to be able to do. So I'm hoping for the next draft that things will change just a little bit for Ignite.
Well, Ignite has their work cut out for them, as we knew they would. Fish Market is going to be the call up next. And if you're Ignite, I don't know how excited you are to see Fish Market, because this has been a polarizing map this weekend. Teams have often just steamrolled their opponents, and when you're coming off a fresh 4-0 victory, Fish Market is probably exactly what you see on the side of Parallax.
Yeah, and it's a much more wider map. I mean, I don't know if we'll be able to see the serious quote-unquote pick that we saw so many times yesterday, and by so many I only mean 2, and that's more than I would have ever expected her to be picked, right? But it's these longer angles, these longer sight lines that can't really be broken, that make snipers pretty prevalent on this map as well. Frog Isle, they can post up by window pretty much duke it out one after the other against the enemy's opposing sniper. But in situations like this, there are longer sight lines. There are bigger areas for you to cover. So you can lock in the Strix. You can lock in the Kinessa if you want to. But what's even more so better on this map than the snipers, I think it's the dive. I think that's why they got rid of the Rom immediately, even though he was banned last time. I think Rom, Ash, Ruckus, these guys do so well on Fish Market. It's so hard to stop them because they can come in from so many different angles.
It's really, really difficult in order to lock those down. So Rom, Ash both taken off the board. Torvald and Io here by Parallax, and now you're looking at someone like Makoa potentially, though Makoa usually doesn't do as well on Fish Market because of those longer sight lines. It's going to be the Khan instead, and obviously 0% win rate so far as we've only had one game, but we've seen Khan really heavily prioritize in North America. Europe, he felt like a tertiary option at best. Seems like Brazil seems to think that the Khan is still a top-tier pick.
Yeah, Khan is definitely one of those picks to where we see the counters being brought out against the Ash, but having that Leon shield, it's a little bit up for debate right now. I've seen chat talking about it. I know it's a discussion among the players about whether Leon shield Khan going solo tank is something that can work for him. And we've seen it work, but it hasn't been as effective as people might be. I think that just comes down to the record and situations like that. When we saw solo tank Khan yesterday, it wasn't actually Leon shield in Europe. It was actually Stormer bullets. A couple of them ended up taking Stormer bullets. They feel like that aggression, having that consistent poke, moving with the team is way better than just having that sort of point presence that you know will fall off the longer the game actually goes on. So I think having the solo tank Khan here, if they go that, could be fine with the Corvus as his healer.
Well, Androxus alongside him as well, so plenty of damage is on the other side. We already have plenty of damage just between the Genos damage amp and this Xin, which has been really, really potent here at the Paladins World Championship. Strix as well. I already talked about how successful he was yesterday in Europe. Now you damage amp him with the Genos. It's going to be tough to beat, I think, as Fernando comes through again. Talk to me about this Fernando, Fawn. Is this Parallax knowing they can get away with whatever they want, basically, or do they really think that Fernando is one of the best point tanks available?
It is. I feel like Fernando throughout the phase has been sort of has been in the shadow of Anara and in the shadow of Barrick in the Brazilian region. I feel like the Fernando hasn't really been quite looked at as effectively, typically because you have situations like having a Khan might be relevant, but a Talus hover. I want to get back to the Fernando, but having a Talus hover is not something I would have expected to see. I had mentioned it before, Parallax shaped things in the way that we've seen them do throughout the phase, and they lock in the first Talus pick of the World Championship. I don't quite know what else to say except for the fact that he has that dive potential. He can make Leon extremely uncomfortable. That Fernando with his immortal, his immortal is going to make sure that everyone stays alive around him. It's the counteracting dive potential that I believe they're looking for on the side of Fernando. That ultimate's going to be huge. Strix is going to hit for nearly 2,000 damage for every headshot, thanks to the Genos buff. So that's going to be scary playing into that with these longer angles with the Leon and the Androxus.
Parallax throwing everybody for a loop. I don't think that should be something too out of the ordinary for the rest of today. I think they've got that type of potential. The Talus Genos combo, man, I mean, it's still there, right? It still has that potential. We'll see if they're able to pull it off. Something tells me that they will. Parallax Gaming up against Ignite Gaming. Game 2 going to Fish Market.
And that for a stunning 4-0 in this set, we're on Ignite's turf now. Are they going to be able to achieve the sweet spot? I don't know, but, you know, they can still score a game. And Chris, what do you think?
I'm thinking it could be possible, but just looking at the drafts that they had, the first pick, Khan, Fish Market, he can work, but it's only if you really want to play kind of slowly. They have a bit of a hybrid composition here. The Khan and the Leon will be the more defensive side of things, while the Andro and the Ruckus are the ones looking to get aggressive. But I think Parallax, maybe outside of the Strix, are definitely a more one-mind kind of composition. That Xin and that Talus are going to be trying to run down the back as quickly as possible. How well can they counter-engage on the side of Ignite Gaming? How well can that Ruckus and that Andro kind of pincer the dive once Parallax gets aggressive? We'll see exactly, I guess, how far Dintic can get in here on this Talus. Definitely the surprise pick of this set to see how they can turn around and deal with them, but first one already goes to Parallax.
Yeah, and he was actually super close to get the Corvus bet thanks to Mitzhau. no problem at all. He's going to be able to pick that one up, and as you said before, that's exactly the problem with, you know, having a solo tank on your point and the entirety of the team is down. And Khan, very risky pick, unless you use that elimination method thanks to your ultimate. It's going to be super hard, and now they're up and running, setting up, and that's a problem with Fish Market also. You have a sniper against you, and it's an open map.
Yeah, but look at that. They actually have, they're utilizing the flank routes, which people forgot about. And yes, Parallax get it, but now they're in maybe a decent position to fight it. But wait, Abyssal went over there alone, and the flankers were just waiting for him to take him down.
They just melted him. That was huge for them once again. And didn't take, you know, he has all the right spots, all the right angles. Thanks also Zin and all the others. And so as soon as they try to get to the payload, they're going to get melted off pretty easily. Even though you have a shield as Khan, there's so much verticality in the map, so different in heights, etc. You can just shoot over him, and that's what just exactly happened. So hard for them, so hard to actually try to avoid right now, Specs and all the others getting into your backline, because as soon as you do a little bit of damage, the shield is right there, thanks to Fernando.
Yeah, he's able to really keep them alive when they kind of recollapse here, but even though everyone on Ignite was low, Corvus can heal them up pretty quickly, so they're able to come back pretty much right away and turn this around. But snipers on this map, there's a reason they're picked so well. Mitao trades one, but he won't be able to survive much longer.
Oh my god! Able to escape though and get another one. And, you know, that just shows you how Midtown and Strix in general is such a superior DPS than Glian. You have, you know, the reposition, you can go invisible. People have to spend Illuminate to actually get to you, so that's a huge burden economically speaking. In general, so hard to put pressure. Maybe with, you know, if I have your Androxes coming in vertically with your Cursed Army, you can kind of open up the situation. Could be different, but I don't see that coming anytime soon.
Oh! Look at that time and space, dude. They had two with that as they were trying to retreat, so two quick ones. Parallax now, I mean, Ignite. They are just reeling from that one. I'm not sure how they're going to be able to recontest Merlot. They're going to send the Andrew in, but again, just 1 second there. And that was great synergy from them on the far right side. Parallax, they forced them to escape with the pressure from the flashbang. They don't know where the time and space is coming in. If they can't see, they can't dodge it. So 2 picks quickly from that pushes Outlander being the second top fragger on his team right now.
Yeah, Ignite kind of getting roasted right now. And the problem is they need to recollect and regroup, you know, figure out how can they approach this middle point. You know, there's still an opportunity, because if you take the middle point now, you still have a free push, even though you can spend a couple of resources maybe. In general, you don't want to lose this particular point, because then you're in that tough spot, that tough, you know, tough decision when you can spend the ultimates, because the net match point then is coming up. But also, if you don't spend, they're going to go with another 4-0. So they need to get this middle point and use those elimination methods, thanks to Khan and his ultimate.
Yeah, you have to spend your ults on mid. I mean, that's a 100% no-brainer. There's no reason to hold it onto it for the defense, and they know that already because they're coming with a quick Hexafire, but Deja Vu's the one to get the first.
Not bad, and Zabi actually gets 2 in a row, thanks also to the intervention on Droxus, but the problem is they're pretty much even Steven, you know? They're trading blows, but at the end of the day, Parallax Gaming has the upper hand, many more bodies and people, but hold the phone once again. Orn actually takes another one, but once again, a Spexy just rebounds, takes another one, and Droxus, look at the pressure he's able to actually maintain into this light defense. But yeah, even though we got 90%, situation pretty much the same as before.
Yeah, the even back and forth here is going to be make it hard for both teams to really want to cap, because by doing that you give up resources that you would be using in the fight otherwise, right? If you threw them onto the point, but the engagement comes in quick, even if it's spited in response.
Pretty good right there, and with Talos following up, oh boy, they're gonna collapse onto the enemy team. They're crumbling down one after the other. Look at Lian, look at Khan inside that middle point. Lian is gonna be the next one to go. Khan completely alone by himself, no heals, no way he can escape. So even though they got 74%, thanks to the comeback mechanic, it's all Parallax Gaming from now on, because you got Talos, you're gonna pop those mounts off. It's gonna be super hard to actually get onto that point. Maybe you can actually try going to the side, since they have so much verticality thanks to Ruckus, but I don't see that happening, because Spexy takes another kill, And right here, Khan is going to just get into everybody's faces, you know, getting melted off by Fernando, Talus, and all the others. Super hard to have this retake.
Yeah, on Fish Market, when you lose a clean fight like that, it's almost impossible to really get back in. The sidelines are just so big. You can't really stop it. But Deja Vu at the end of this, surprisingly, after his team got shredded coming in, they're trading a couple frags their way. They killed one, and they're just stalemating now. But Deja Vu proving his rookie of the year status here with another kill.
I'm noticing a trend from Deja Vu. He's really the engine of the entirety of Ignite Gaming. Like, he's able to find kills even in the desperate of times. The problem is he needs to find those kills sooner, at least when you're trying to do middle point contesting. Yes, they're great. Yes, he puts the pressure up, but the problem and the matter of the fact is it's a 3-0 right now, and nothing is going to change that.
Yeah, this aggressive zone is making it difficult for them to refight back here, but actually Dintic maybe overextends. No rune up, and Deja Vu spent the accursed arm to take him down. I love the vertical play that Deja Vu has here, constantly playing above that roof, and also Abizu playing by this hook here on the side, really threatening the flank onto the cart. Not only threatening it, he's actually doing it now, and Parallax have to respond.
Spexy is going to try to escape, but also he's able to take the Strix to trade a single blow. He has the ultimate, he has so many tools and potential, and that's the problem when you're playing against Xin. It's so frustrating, so hard to actually get him in a tough spot, because he has so much potential to just go away. But Cubits, on the other hand, you know, able to actually take that triple kill. You're going to stop the advantage, and you're going to stop this payload advancing, though. 50 seconds is a lot of time, and Fish Market is not a long map. You can block them on the elbow, but it's still a long way to go before they get this absolute defense and 1 point out of it.
Watching Kubi's play Leon really shows why you want to pick Leon on this map sometimes. Is it worth over Strix? Probably not, but the snowball potential is there, and it is massive as Ignite gets aggressive kind of off the back of that still, but the rest of them are getting collapsed on from the backline. Look at this Nando go.
Watch out for Cubits. A super dangerous spot for him. He's going to get melted off, but he's not actually able to escape. Spexing with another one, mid-cell, and another one. And they're just pushing. 70 seconds to go, so that means the last stretch is going to be all in overtime, and that could be a great advantage. Though, you can't spend resources. As you're in Ignite right now, you just need to go with your basic cooldowns.
Yeah, I mean, Ignite are the one that might need to spend if it gets closer. Parallax are going to have to save, and they want this to go long because they want to charge up what they already have, right? They're down quite a few ultimates minus the Immortal, so definitely want to do some damage as they get this card moving, and the shield will help them quite a bit, but Deja Vu now, he's looking for the back. They want to stop this push now.
Dintic probably also taking that sideline to the right, trying to block Khan, Leon, and all the others. And as you can see, everybody from Parallax just chilling in the left, trying to find the right sniper, and Drux is going to get taken off. Oh, and he switches back to Leon. Exafire is going to get spent. The Fernando also used the Immortal, so they're always surviving 1v1, and that's a good trade. That's a good value, because you just saved Talus, you just saved everybody else. The defense is going to be successful, though, because Fernando was not touching that payload. So I don't know, but I don't think Parallax was expecting that.
Yeah, they didn't have anyone to replace Kron's. Kubi's was the one who managed to take the Fernando down, and since the overtime had been going on so long, that's fast OT. That drains in less than a second. The way that the payload checks for who's contesting it, you would literally need someone already standing on it with the Fernando to make that work, and that's just not the way that Parallax's composition really works here. And they used a little bit there. They're down the Immortal, which I thought was going to be kind of their crux going into this next one, but the overpower is going to be the most important thing here. I got to give Ignite the edge coming into this mid, as long as they get one person with this pull. If it's a Spexy, I think that's even better. Not only is he the one closest to his ultimate, but he's also the one who's kind of been the most, I think, a key factor in all their kills. He's 10-3 right now. He just has not really been punished by Ignite, and an overpower would do just that.
Yeah, and you can actually see that Orn is trying to find the right spot. Talus is going to spot him. He's up there, up and running. Spexy actually able to take another kill. Ooh, he's not going to connect against the Fernando. The shield is going to be there, sure, but you're up in the air, completely toast over. So, yeah, I don't think this middle point is going to go to Ignite. They still have the resources, though, and on a course of the arm available at this very moment. So maybe, there you go, he's going to get popped up, though. Ooh, the shot from a Strix, and of course, a Spexy cleaning that up. So no ultimates left unless for Khan, but you're such in a bad spot in 96%, 99. No way you can do a rebound and touch the point. And Parallax Gaming, another very clean victory down here.
Yeah, just crushed there near the end, the way that they stopped Deja Vu from getting that cursed arm off. They just, no ults they wanted to use actually happened. The Khan, instead of overpowering, went to the point and tried to grab the Nando for that. Play slow, get a DPS. You don't need to contest. You have comeback mechanic. Play off of that instead of forcing it. To me, it just looked like Parallax felt a lot more comfortable on Fish Market, the map, and Ignite looked a little lost in comparison.
Absolutely, and that's the tough spot I was talking about, you know. You have to use those ultimates because you're in 3-1, but, you know, if you don't use them, then the middle point is going to be super hard. If you use them, well, that just happens. So, good job for, of course, Parallax Gaming, but we are bound to go to the desk and analyze the problem. What really happened?
Well, at least we got a point this time if you're on Ignite. The completely undefeated run for Parallax dies in the quarterfinals. They have indeed lost a push successfully. Fun. Other than that, I'm out of silver linings here for Ignite. They're now down 2-0 against a Parallax Gaming team that looks like they woke up mad for some reason, and they are stomping Ignite right now.
Yeah, I think part of the thing is that when you start off the game and Midtown immediately gets a kill like that, and you have first blood that already happens, and then he just decides to kill everyone else, then yeah, that's typically a line of, that is an error, particularly with your draft. And I was mentioning this a little bit before when we were watching the game. I think it comes down to how the draft is actually created. I know Brazil likes to lock in Leon to try and contest these long-range snipers, see if they can bring out the damage necessary. And don't get me wrong, Leon does a lot of damage, but I don't think she does as much as a Genos-boosted Strix does. So I think in a situation like this, you need to focus on your dive. You have the Androxus, you have the Ruckus, you have the Khan. You can forgo the point. We've seen it happen before, and this is part of what I was saying before about how Brazil is typically in the mindset of, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And it's a situation where they will consistently go back to some of these older characters that we've seen, characters that have been picked that may have fallen out a little bit out of the meta, and sort of still stick to them. I don't think Leon was the play here. I think they had a great draft. I'm not saying that, you know, it was entirely Kubi's fault, because they could have played a lot of things better, but I think if they would have stuck to the dive, I think the Leon sort of set them apart. It sort of split them down what they should have done, and it was a rough game overall. I mean, Deja Vu only did 1,000 more damage than the Ruckus did. That typically doesn't happen on an Androxus. To do only 1,000 K more than your frontliner, that's rough. And I think that in this draft, they definitely have to figure something out. I think the drafts have been falling a little bit short in terms of what Ignite, in terms of what I know Ignite can do. So they should be a little bit more careful with how they choose their characters.
I mean, we talked about it at the very beginning of this set. If you're going to try and just play normal Brazilian-style Paladins, Parallax is going to beat you at that. You've got to come on with something a little bit different, something that they're not used to. I don't know that Ignite has done that quite yet, as Splitstone Quarry is going to be our third map. Ignite here maybe tries to throw Parallax for a loop in the draft. What are some kind of off picks that you think that a team like Ignite might be able to go for?
I think that BK could be a good pick here. I mean, we've seen Bomb King be used on Splitstone a couple of times, maybe not so much in the recent phase, or more so in the recent phase. We haven't seen Bomb King be picked up like that. I think Bomb King is a good pick here on Splitstone Quarry. I think it's hard to play into him. You lock down areas by fidget spinners. You make it so that they can't quite push in and pretty much lock down that area, and you try and see if you can get into their opposing high ground. Bomb King brings a lot of presence on the map. I think this is a good pick for him. I think this is a good area for him to be in. And if they don't ban Io here, I definitely think they grab Io. This is a good map for Io, and an area, a map where I think she excels. And that way they can sort of play off of, we can get aggressive and see what they can do against Parallax.
Let's see if anything goes in Ignite's favor here in the draft, as they ban away the Rom and the Genos. Torvald already taken out by Parallax. I don't think we've seen an IO quite yet, either in picks or bans, if my memory serves properly. Is that typical for Brazil, or is this just kind of how these games have sort of gone so far?
Well, the last set, they did end up banning Io on Fish Market, but it's not the best map for her. So I'm not too sure why the Io ban was prevalent there and not in any of the other maps. There's definitely more areas where you can feel the Io should be banned out more. Stonekeep is one of those maps, and so is Jag, but they already banned both of those maps. So I'm not too sure. This could be a pretty decent map for her to be on here, especially since they didn't ban her. But having the Makoa first and the Corvus soon after that, you got sustainability on the side of Parallax Gaming, and you have Buck. That is a very great start in terms of just having tankier DPS. You don't always have to rely on the frontliners to be able to live. Buck does a great job at excelling at making sure that he stays alive, especially after he dives.
Also worth noting that when Kresnik's talking about Splitstone, he always brings up verticality, and Buck's kind of the verticality dude. You know, my man got hopped, so he's going to be getting in there regardless of where the enemy team is hiding. As Zin and Khan come through, I like what Ignite have so far. It's not different, you know, it's pretty standard from what I can tell, but these are just solid picks. Zin, Khan, Makoa have all been impressive here at the Paladins World Championship weekend.
Yeah, and I definitely think they're the three to be looking at if you're trying to draft any sort of character, but having that Inara as well. So you got Buck, Strix, Inara, Corvus. Inara has so much presence on the point. I mean, it's hard to argue that she doesn't. This is just the reality that you're faced with. You're faced with going up against somebody as tanky as Inara. A lot of the times, we've seen this Inara fall flat throughout this weekend when she's been picked. Not doing so good as the Makoa, not doing as well as the Khan. And I think most of that has to be to the statement that most of the time we've seen Inara be picked, it has been solo tank. It hasn't been two tanks. It's just been her. And she's great at solo tanking. But even still, a lot of the teams weren't able to quite execute on what she was able to provide for them, I personally believe. So I think that this time, if there was going to be a team that could really pull it off, I think I really enjoyed the Inara here.
Inara solo tank, an option for Parallax, is they're kind of wide open with this final selection on where they want to go. They've got a lot of different directions that they can go with this final pick. They're going to pick up another vertical flanker. It's going to be Eevee flying around the map, zooming, and probably putting some pressure on this Leon and Maldamba. Going back to the Leon here for Ignite, certainly something that, again, they feel like they are sticking to what you said at the very beginning of the day, that ain't broke, don't fix it. My problem, Fawn, is that I think it might be broke. I think they might need to change it. They might need to fix it because it hasn't worked so far. Parallax looking pretty poised here, I think, to take the 3-0.
I think so too, and that verticality is going to hurt Khan a lot. It's going to really open him up. That's one of the things that he's weakest against, is having that verticality. It's great if you're only shooting from the front side, but what happens when they jump up, jump around, and really get behind the shield is going to be a problem for Khan to try and stay there, sustain himself. He has to use the battle shout to see if he can live long enough for him to even be in the fight, for him to be relevant. So I don't know. I'm not too sure how I feel about this so far.
Well, let's head to Splitstone Quarry, Game 3 between Parallax Gaming and Ignite.
Ignite on the ropes here. I'm gonna be honest, Quarry could bring them some much-needed space, but it all comes down to how well can they adjust against that verticality. What are your thoughts, Chris?
It's going to be hard to adjust, man. Looking at just a Strix and a Buck and an Eevee triple DPS on this map, the Eevee and the Buck in particular will just be a wrecking ball that can swing in from wherever on the map they need to follow up on the poke that Strix does. It'll be hard for Ignite, but I think it depends a lot on how much their tanks can do inside the other area of the map. They're both kind of defensive, crowd control oriented tanks, so if they can catch one of these DPSs on the way in and slow them down, it can work, and that's what Ornstein is doing. Look at this. He's already kind of in the way of Dintic, not letting him move in, but now Aspexy's here, and Khan, he can fight 1 DPS, but I'm not sure about fighting 2.
I mean, it's almost up to 3, though, because everybody's just chasing on him and piling onto that big pile of muscle, and it's just going to escape. Makoa is going to be the first one, and thanks to the blasting Aspexy, we're going to have Sync 2 in a couple of while. There you go. And Khan, of course, not being on point, they're leaving so much space to Parallax Gaming, and they're capitalizing. They're already at 60%.
Yeah, I mean, better for him to be up, to be helping his team instead of standing on point right now. I feel like he would have just died there as Kubis gets chipped down by the Inara. Khan now will have to go in, but Ignite, they've already lost 2.
And that's what's gonna happen if you stand on point without anybody else. Makoa just jumped in to try to contest a little bit, maybe buy some time, but the problem is gonna be, of course, the Eevee. Such verticality, so hard to pin down, and you can see already the same problems as before, you know, very flexible and mobile flankers. This wall from Inara could set the stone. Yep, that's the last nail in the coffin, and Khan just gives up, just stops.
I mean, if anything, at that point, if you fight back, I guess he probably should have shot, at least to get some ult charge, but doing anything more, if you're just shielding, if you're shouting, you're just delaying yourself from your respawn. He's already one of the closest to his team for ult anyway, as Parallax let this cart roll even closer. The last corner is an important one because of that vertical hold you can have on it. You want to be able to contest it there, but look at this, the Strix. How are they going to get onto the Strix? They can't, because Dintik is already jumping around to try to split them and make them look around.
They try to stop him, but no can do. And at this point, you know, you have that vertical position. Khan is going to try to hold it as much as possible thanks to Qubits. He's going to go for the ultimate, but no can do. Not even that can save Leon at this point. And everybody's going to fall down. We're at 4 minutes into the game, Kresnik. Already 2-0.
Yeah, just non-stop, basically, there from Parallax. They used that Buck Wild at the start of the push, and they're already only at 50%. That's how quickly they got that card all the way around everything. Just 50% charged up from that Buck Wild for the Buck who's there. And hey, if you're going to say anything about Ignite Gaming, you can talk about their consistency. Look at those KDAs. 0-3-0 across the board for them. 3 fights was all it took for Parallax to be able to convert this payload all the way through. I love the way that they started that fight, though. Again, the Buck and the Eevee on the right side fighting the Khan. Ornstein can't really stop them alone, while Kubi's was trying to fight the mid line. He was trying to help his Makoa instead.
And it's so hard to pin,
yeah,
you know, Eevee down, and that's the problem. So you can focus Eevee, you can go on Buck because he's bulky and has verticality. Okay, maybe we can jump on Strix. It's just so hard. Not so many options at your disposal if you're gonna try. But at this point, another fight ensures, and we see that Inara takes the, you know, complete pressure. Makoa is going to be all around by himself. Same thing as before. Ultimates are coming in, but this Khan is not going to find any capitalization with all the others. Yes, he takes a kill and takes to Moldamba. They're back to 2. Comeback to Mechanic could be something, but it's kind of a tragic situation.
Yeah, they got the overpower. That's going to be helpful for now, and they actually get one more Outlander on the escape, and now it's all onto Karan's to delay on point as much as he can.
I see the weight is shifting a little bit for Ignite Gaming for sure. And remember, comeback mechanic, you know, you are able to take the point. They got a couple of more kills. You know, Buck is going to try to put a dent to it. A little bit of defense. Inara could be falling soon after if they focus their out as soon as possible, but no can do. Buck just going to be relentless upon this Khan. Super hard to him to reach out and also defend. And everybody's just scrambling from the fence. Another kill thanks to Ignite Gaming. They're trying for sure. It's not going to be super important. Not going to matter. If as soon as you take a kill, you're bound to trade, that's going to be a detrimental.
Yeah, they have the hold inside Quarry, but they can actually break out. They're playing still like they're worried about an overpower that doesn't still exist, and Ornstein will fall, and this might be what it takes for them to get out, but they trade for a Spexy.
That's for sure. And right now, Parallax Gaming on top of the point. Overtime, they can try to touch with the Lians and all the others. They actually take another kill thanks to Midtown, saving Buck. At the end of the day, they got the point, and that's going to be a clean 3-0 once again. And now we're back in the same tough spot as before. You're about to use your ultimates. You have to defend unless it's match point, right? But also, next point, next matchup is going to be match point at the same time. So you can't spend, but you have to spend. It's going to be a disaster.
I mean, a Spexy with a triple on the back of an Ice Storm. I was going to say, man, you can use your ults when you're this far. You have 2 whole minutes that you have to charge up your ults. You can use them if you want, and Spexy agrees with me clearly. His 4th kill in a row, cleaning up basically everybody with that Ice Storm there. And Parallax, they just continue to spend these ults to get around this first corner because they know how hard it is to break through that first choke. When they have the high ground, it's almost impossible. And Ignite, they got to be thinking about using this overpower here to equalize.
Yeah, they definitely can. You know, Parallax, they got the spendings. They're in the bag. It's safe for them to just go aggressive at every moment. Not the same for Ignite, though, and I can clearly see that. The overpower, yes, could give us a much-needed breather. But, of course, you need to think about the next matchup. But we're on the last inches, the last stretch, and they're desperate. They're going to try it now with a little bit of a CC. Moldamba's going to try to keep Leon alive, but Leon sliding into the DMs, into that side lane, trying to do a little bit of damage, but no can do. She's going to fall down. Buck chasing for the Moldamba. Nobody on the card, nobody on the point, nobody to contest unless it's this Makoa. Makoa getting pushed back. The overpower is going to come in. They're trying to take another one. Is a desperate struggle for survival at this point. 1 minute. They got the space. But that's a lot of time once again. And Inara is back in action.
Yeah, but she's not going to go all the way back in. There's absolutely no way she moves into contest there. Ornstein, though, saving grace for the team for sure with the overpower, pulling the Buck out. That's the second one in a row that's connected on a flanker, and that's kind of what they have to do. They can't let this Buck and Eevee move together as a unit, but Parallax, they're hungry for this. They're pushing in right now, even if Kronz took a lot of early damage.
That's true. The aggression is still there. They can kind of do it as soon as they find another kill out of this single action. I don't know, though. They don't have that much space. There are a lot of, you know, objects in the way. It's hard to pin down the enemy team. It's hard to find the right angle, but you need to do that. Or you can slow down and play for the next game. You know, play for the next match point.
Yeah, I think they don't have a choice now. I was gonna say maybe they'll hold back, and I think Deja Vu made that decision for them with the picks he was able to get there in a row with him cleaning up on everything. But the damage is far and away in favor of Parallax Gaming. Just looking at these charts here, Dintic, the one leading the charge, and this shows what these vertical flankers are capable of doing here on this map. Even a Strix, who's one of the highest damage in terms over time champions you'll get, he's constantly bursting you for 1200 across the map. But a Buck and an Eevee are outpacing him. They're throwing themselves at these tanks, putting on so much pressure they can't use that CC that much. Shoutouts to the tanks and Ignite for being able to keep up, honestly. In the first place, I think they have been the ones to keep Ignite in this game, but they're going to have to do more if they want to turn it around so much to make this map theirs.
And I think Parallax Gaming realized that. I mean, even the last game, we saw how much verticality can put Khan in a very tough spot, and it's going to be the same as before. So you can see that Ignite, they're actually adjusting, trying to take the right side of the quarry. So at that point, yeah, you are a little bit more covered from vertical flanks and vertical assault, that's for sure. But you're not able to actually take those kills. Makoa maybe, but Buck with Dintic, you know, takes the first one, and Spexy on the other back takes the second one. Oh, incredible stun on Moldamba, and it sure came in with a capitalization. So support is gone, tanks are gone, and Parallax Gaming, you know, being out in the open, they actually were able to touch the point and get 272%.
Yeah, and I think this honestly might be it, Merlot, because they're trading everybody out. I don't think they can touch.
And, you know, coming in, they're blocking them. And thanks to that verticality, that mobility, you're able to, you know, just scuff over the wall and block everybody coming in. Those reinforcements are never going to come in. You're never going to have a rebound. And unfortunately, that's going to be a very first 3-0 clean set for Parallax Gaming. But good job to them.
I mean, did we expect anything else from them? Ignite has looked good throughout the season, but Parallax have... There's a reason they're the only undefeated team left, and they showed it here. They just looked fantastic on every map they played so far.
Absolutely. And now, back to Agro for the breakdown.
Thank you, Merlo and Kresnik. As expected, Parallax Gaming moves on to the semifinals. And Fawn, they did it in exactly the way we thought they would. Maybe a little bit worse, actually, going 4-1 in 2 of the 3 maps. But overall, dominant performance by them.
Yeah, I definitely think that it's overall rough. I mean, I was complaining about it before when I was watching the game. I'm like, why did you send Khan by himself into lava against the 2 people that we just talked about would be his counter? And what exactly happened? Khan goes into lava, Eevee, Buck are both there waiting. Zen, for some reason, is by fidget spinners with Makoa. They're getting whittled down because Zen doesn't quite have the means of actually getting to the kills that he's trying to get to. He's getting poked down. Khan is by himself by lava. It's a 2v1. It's also a 2v1, but you're also burning into a Nara. You don't really have a lot of stuff. You have like Cauterize 1 maybe. You don't really have... Your ultimate's not going to be up anytime soon. So you're pretty much just wasting your own time. And by the time they had killed Khan, they rotated over, helped out Inara, and made sure that they could do what they could. And I actually was thinking about it a little bit before, and that's why I'm so glad we're seeing the slash lines, because Kubi's was 2-9. It is the Leon again. I do not like the Leon into these long-range snipers. I don't think it brings out the damage. I don't think it has the control that they might be thinking that Leon does against another sniper. That's typically why people pick snipers against other snipers. Leon's damage might be huge. The bigger the range is, the bigger the distance is between her and the target she's shooting at when she uses presence, when she uses her Q, if you play on default bindings. It's hard to do that, though, to consistently deal damage to mid-tow. Even if you hit him at a long range, yours still has a cooldown. Mid-tow, if he even sneezes and hits a headshot by accident, you're getting hit for 1800, right? And that's more consistent than an ability is in terms of you trying to make sure you have that proper damage. I think Leon's damage fall off is too big on her basic weapon shots for it to be relevant against somebody like a Strix.
Well, Parallax make it look pretty easy in the face of that Leon and everything else Ignite was doing. They move on to the semifinals. They await the winner of Carnage up against In Control. That will be your next matchup. Now, if you are a fan of Ignite, don't worry. They aren't done quite yet. They drop down into the losers and will now await the loser of our next matchup. Carnage is a team that also was pretty dominant during this phase of the PPC. 11-4 for them. In Control sharing the same record as Ignite during this phase in 8-7. Carnage has looked awfully good here, or Fawn, excuse me, but we'll have to wait and see if it's good enough to continue on and face off against Parallax in the semifinals. Don't go anywhere. Paladins World Championship coming right back.